Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk about another movie we saw today, and today, I'm quite excited for this one. This one is for, of course, Thor, Love and Thunder. After a very dark and horror vibe of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Marvel is now giving us a more comedic, lighter approach with Thor, Love and Thunder. So, of course, in this video, I will be showing off every Funko Pop that I have on me at the time of this video. And secondly, we're of course going to talk about the movie, review it, because I seem to enjoy doing these now. Of course, there will be spoilers at the very end of this video, so the second half of the review will be a spoiler review. So, of course, you have been warned now, and do click away if you don't want to get spoiled. So far, all the Thor Pops I have purchased have all been from Hot Topic. Little disclaimer, while I was able to get pretty much 90% of all the Jurassic World Pops, I was a little bit more unsuccessful with Thor here, but not as unsuccessful as I was for Doctor Strange, because for Doctor Strange I literally found nothing. So let's start off with, of course, Thor himself. Now, I will say Thor has definitely changed a lot in this film. Without giving anything away, I definitely say I really enjoy Chris Hemsworth's performance in this film as Thor. He does utilize his weapons a lot more. Of course, I'll get more to that later. And just looking at this Funko Pop as a whole, this Funko Pop is actually pretty nice. I love what they've done here with Stormbreaker in his hand, just with the sparks and everything. This is definitely one of my favorite Thor Pops that they've done. Seems very detailed, and actually, like, for a common too, this is pretty cool. I will say Chris Hemsworth does maintain a lot of his comedic acting that he got from Ragnarok and then later on to Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. And then next up, let's move on with, of course, one of the biggest factors that's happening in this film is the mighty Thor. Very comic book accurate, because in the comics, Jane does become the mighty Thor and wield Mjolnir, so it was only right to see Natalie Portman return for this film. And yeah, having said that, I will say Natalie Portman did a great job in this film. Her acting was solid. There were some questionable moments, but overall, she did very well. Because, you know, we've known Jane just from the first Thor movies, and she was a very serious character. And we got to see her more of her comedic side as well in this film. There is also another, of course, I believe it's a Hot Topic exclusive. It's a glow-in-the-dark Mighty Thor. It's just this, but glow-in-the-dark, and I believe it does have some lightning. I don't know entirely. Like I said, this is just the common one. And even just for this common one, she does have the lightning coming out of the broken Mjolnir, and that has added some great detail to it, and I think it is done very well. So, Mighty Thor, next on the list. Now, the pops I'm missing from this collection is Valkyrie. However, I did manage to pick up the Pocket Pop for her today, but at the time of this video, I have still yet to find the common Valkyrie Funko Pop. But it is coming. I did order it off HotTopic.com, so that package is on the way, so that pop obviously isn't here in time for the movie review. So, in store today, I did pick up the Valkyrie Pocket Pop, so that will have to substitute it for the moment. I mean, what more can I say? I think she was okay in this. I think she's really just stayed the same as the character. Tessa Thompson, I will say, did pretty good. But overall, Valkyrie's character art, I just feel like it's just really been the same. She does have some developments in this film. Of course, I won't get into all the details, but I will say she does have some conflicts happening in this film within her character. Unfortunately, they didn't really talk about it enough. And of course, I'll get more to that later on. But yeah, there's that. So Valkyrie in the Pocket Pop form, and then of course, one of the best duels in the MCU. Let's do him first. Hello, my name is Korg, and I am a Funko Pop. Obviously, I cannot do a Taika Waititi New Zealand accent, but his outfit, of course, is a little bit different. I do have the Ragnarok Korg, but the mold is pretty much the same, but of course, outfit's different, his weapon's the same mold, and I will say Korg actually surprisingly did plenty in this film. I kind of went expecting Korg to just be on the side, but no, he actually played a lot in this storyline, in this film. He contributed a lot, so let's move on to his partner, Meek here, who unfortunately was quite the opposite. He didn't do a lot. It's not really much of a spoiler, but I will say, yeah, he didn't really do a lot in this film, but needless to say, it's really cool to see him dressed up in this nice little tuxedo suit, all fancied up. And he's got the scissors and all that, so he looks very professional, very professional. And of course, it's a good thing Funko at least still made a pop for him, just to honor it, and he is, it's not Korg without Meek. You need the two together, so makes sense for Funko to make a pop for him. And then my last normal common pop I have in here is one of my new favorite MCU villains, Gorr the God Butcher. Christian Bale, my man, was spot on. Gorr was terrifying in this movie. He was a spot on villain. He had some comedic moments, but overall, when his presence was on screen, you could feel some tension happening. The movie kind of switches towards a more horror, scary, tense, dark vibe. He is terrifying, and I absolutely loved it. I will say, even for the Funko Pop here, they've done a pretty good job depicting exactly what he is. So he's got, of course, he's got the sword, he's got the little shadow realm effects happening around him, and yeah, so overall, as I say, Gorr is an excellent spot-on villain. I am missing Valkyrie, as you saw, but I am also missing Thor with the goat boats and with the goats in the boats. That's the movie moment I have still yet to find. I have not even ordered that at all online because Hot Topics didn't have it yet, so I don't know when I'm going to get it, but that's the one I'm missing, and as well as Valkyrie. So I guess the last two things to end off with are these two other Pocket Pops I picked up alongside Valkyrie, which is Thor and Gorr the God Butcher, of course. So there's that. Of course, same thing, it's just scaled down. You know, that's how Pocket Pops work. So these are all the Funko Pops I got for this review. Really wish I managed to get the full set like Jurassic World. But even then, for Jurassic World, I had some pops missing. So it is what it is. I've got the majority here. It's good enough. And hopefully Valkyrie will come soon. So let's talk about the movie, shall we?
You flipped too hard, damn it!
I enjoyed it. All the recent new 2022 films just seem to get hate. Like, we had Doctor Strange, there was some negativity. We had Jurassic World, there was some negativity. Okay, fine, that made sense.
Emotional, damn it!
Lightyear, who also had some negativity. And then we have this film, who also negativity. It just doesn't seem like people and the critics are giving these new movies a chance. They may not be perfect, and this film does have some issues, which I will address, but overall it was pretty good. I don't know why people hate on it. Okay, there's too much comedic jokes, there's just too many jokes, and overdoses of jokes. I beg to differ. I think I have to disagree with that, because here's the thing. Yes, there were a lot of jokes, and that's Taika Waititi's style. He likes to add comedy to his movies. It's a signature. Just like Sam Raimi and his camera movements, Taika Waititi is all about comedy. When the movie needs to be serious, it does do serious. Maybe for some people, it might be too much for them. Okay, fine, I can understand it, but for me, I think it was just perfectly balanced. You know, the movie is too serious, all emotional scenes and serious dialogue, it can get boring very quickly. If you're gonna get the audience laughing from time to time, yeah, that's how you keep a movie entertaining. This is not a serious movie like Titanic or any ones where you're supposed to feel a lot of emotions. This is supposed to be just an entertainment and of course tell a cohesive story. I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed it better than Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. Like, don't get me wrong, Doctor Strange was a good film, but it did have some issues. This film had some issues, but it was very minor. The pacing was pretty good. I mean, Doctor Strange, the pacing was very quick. Most of the time, it kept at a steady pace, so I think it was acceptable. The overall story was pretty good, and one of my all-time favorite things about this film is, like I said in the pops, when I showed the pops, is Gorr the God Butcher. I just gotta say, Christian Bale knocked it out of the park. Superb acting. Gorr was terrifying. Every moment he appeared on screen, it felt like a horror movie. It was terrifying. He did have some comedic moments, of course. It's Taika Waititi, of course. And he did have some moments where he was like kind of joking around. But it was quickly turned. He was most of the time very serious, a very badass villain. In my opinion, I think Gorr was a better Thor villain than Hela was. Probably from the 2022 Marvel films, this one is probably my favorite. Still not as, this one is not my all-time favorite, but I think this one, I enjoyed it. I liked this one more than some of the other films. Of course, No Way Home, you can't beat that. That film is an all-time classic, but this film is up there. Thor Love and Thunder is up there with No Way Home. Chris Hemsworth does, do a lot of his comedic stuff. He's more himself. I know a lot of people didn't really like that because it takes away Thor, but let me tell you, the reason why I didn't watch the first two Thor movies was simply because it was too serious. It felt like a Shakespeare play. With all the dialogue, that long traversal dialogue with the words and stuff, like it felt like he was reciting a script, he was reciting a play. So I guess some people like that instead of the comedic side. I think the comedic side is better because it's more fun. It's more entertaining.
Jane?
And then Natalie Portman, of course, returns as Jane. She also goes as that comedy, and it works. My only complaint will be probably Valkyrie didn't really do as much as I thought she would. Obviously, without spoiling anything, yeah. I just say she didn't contribute too much. And it was just more like, hey, guess what? Tessa Thompson's back as Valkyrie. That was pretty much the message I got from this movie. It's like, I really wish she did a little more. As for the Guardians of the Galaxy, they were here for like the first 15 minutes. It's not really that much of a spoiler because most of the footage you see of them are shown in the trailers. After that, there's not much of the Guardians. Which is fine because this is a Thor movie. This isn't Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is a Thor movie. So the Guardians are here briefly. They're not here for the entire movie. They're here in the beginning, but they do some stuff. What they do, of course I won't say, but it was appropriate for the Guardians. But for Valkyrie, who has some significant role in the Thor group, in the Thor circle, I felt like she could have done a little more. Russell Cowell did a pretty good job as Zeus. His costume design, it was a little bit meh, but I take up your disguise, and he like flicks off Thor's disguise, and of course we get to see a bare naked Chris Hemsworth. Let me tell you this, they did not censor in the full movie. So to end up this non-spoiler section, I'm going to of course give my final score for the film here. So I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10. Not quite sure why it's getting a lot of hate. I liked it. It doesn't deserve the hate. It's a good Marvel film. I liked it better than Multiverse of Madness. So that's it for the non-spoiler version. Now let's talk about spoilers. Of course, big warning coming to you right now. So click away from the video if you haven't watched the movie. You have been warned. Okay, let's get right to it. I want to start off by saying, how Gorr does live up to his name. However, there's only one on-screen god kill. He's killed many gods in this movie, but they're all mentioned through Thor watching the screens on the Guardian ship or dialogue. Sif is briefly in this film, except she loses an arm fighting Thor, and there's a whole joke exchange that's her arm is probably in Valhalla already. I kind of wish we got to see more on-screen kills of the gods, because if they already did it once, surely they can do it a couple more times. Like, it's not violating anything, it doesn't violate that PG-13 line. One on-screen god kill in the beginning, and that's when Gorr got the Necro Sword and sliced off the god's head. If they could show that, and they replaced the blood with gold liquid, so it was violent, but it didn't have that Multiverse of Madness level of violence. Yeah, so I'm just saying, if they can show one god being killed on screen, surely they can show a couple more instead of just being delivered off screen. I would love to see more of Gorr in action, because a lot of just Gorr talking, Of course, like I said, Christian Bale did an excellent job, but he really could have had more. One thing that really bugged me, they killed off Jane. Jane and Thor, they got back together in this movie. They set aside their differences, and they kissed several times, not once, they kissed several times in this film. Essentially, they were back as a couple for in the duration of the film, because the story is every time Jane picked up the hammer, every time she picked up Mjolnir and became the mighty Thor, it's actually draining her life because she's at stage 4 cancer. Now, if you don't know about cancer, stage 4 means the point of no return. She was going to die regardless. And the reason she became Mighty Thor was because she heard Mjolnir calling her. And when she did it, that's how she became Mighty Thor. My issue is, like, okay, I guess that makes sense. She picks up the hammer, draining her life. Okay, then why would the hammer call her? Like, okay, she has no cure. That's fine. Like, I guess it adds a little bit of that sad elements, but I just feel like the hammer could have done some healing factors, you know? We have so many magic things happening in the MCU, from the sorcerers to as like the Bifrost magic and all that. I just feel they could have done something a little bit differently instead of just killing her off. Okay, she did go out in a pretty sad way. She disappeared like Odin did, turning into the glowy dust things and into Valhalla. And she died in Thor's arms. So come on, give Thor a break. He's lost so many of his close people. Just give this man a break. He's lost so much. But it did get pretty emotional when Thor held Jane for her last moments of her life. It was actually quite a sad scene. I think that Thor taking care of Gorr's daughter at the end was a pretty smart one. I think it was okay. I think some people had some problems with that, but I think it was okay. You know, Thor had like an adoptive daughter. I see no problem. It was cool to see Thor as an uncle or as a dad, or I don't know, depict it as you will. It was cool. He like made her pancakes at the end, you know, helped her tie her boots before getting into battle. And then I would also like to point out, Korg died. Zeus throws his lightning rod weapon thing, which I forgot the name of, and it shatters Korg, except for his face. Well, thank God, apparently he just needs his mouth to survive, so he grows back later on. He gets together with another rock dude to make a baby. Now, I want to address this as well. So far with a lot of films you've seen recently, they've really embraced the LGBTQ thing, which is good, you know? Pride Month. I've always said this. If there's too much, it holds no meaning anymore. Too much of it, it's insignificant, and it can get tiring. Almost every recent 2022 film has some depiction of LGBTQ. I'm not saying stop showing these kind of same gender relationships, but you gotta slow down. Every film has some form of it, and it's just, it doesn't hold meaning anymore because you're showing too much of it. In Doctor Strange, we have America Chavez, who had 2 moms because she is a LGBTQ hero. Lightyear, Buzz's commander, his friend, gets engaged with another woman. That was a little bit random. I feel like that could have been changed. Should have just stuck to as a guy instead of another woman. Like that didn't really make sense because, yeah, it's a child's movie. I don't think that was an appropriate place to insert an LGBTQ moment. This film, you have 2. First, Korg gets together with that other rock dude. And secondly, Valkyrie, they kind of address her past relationship. So it was always developed into that. Like, Valkyrie already had that since the early days. That's fine. I feel like the Korg part should have been taken out. The whole Korg getting together with that other guy to make a baby. I don't think that was needed. So I'm making it clear, I'm not saying LGBTQ sucks, I'm just saying there's been a little too much of it. They need to slow down on it, maybe space it out a little bit. Maybe like another 2 films from now we can do another LGBTQ moments. Like, just slow it down. The goats. The goats were hilarious. I think if you did a compilation of every time the goats were screaming, you could at least make like a 2-minute long compilation. Every time they were on screen, the audience would go bollocks and start laughing because the goats would just scream non-stop. And I believe from a video I saw, apparently it was just Taika Waititi going into the recording booth and just screaming into the mic. The fact that New Asgard turned to a sellout place was also pretty funny. It became a very big tourist location. There was a beginning where Valkyrie was filming for an Old Spice commercial. That was pretty funny. The end, we saw the reveal of Hercules. Of course, we saw Zeus, and he kind of died when Thor stabbed him with the lightning thing. Of course, he didn't go for the head again. When does Thor ever learn his lessons? Go for the head. But anyways, they needed to keep Zeus alive, so at the end, we can hear him give that dialogue of everyone just believing in superheroes and what happened to the gods. And we get to see a reveal of Hercules. Now, a lot of people say Hercules didn't look pretty good. He looked a little bit odd. I don't read the comics. To me, it was just cool to see some Greek mythology characters coming into the MCU. Obviously, they have been established in the comics. So, I'm excited to see what Hercules would do for the MCU. And, well, Zeus is still alive. Maybe we'll see Zeus and Hercules in action together. So, yeah, I'm all for it. There's one more post-credit scene at the very end, and Heimdall appears, because Heimdall's son is throughout the film. We didn't have Loki at all in this film, which is okay, because the MCU Loki is technically dead, so it's appropriate. I've stated my issues, but they didn't really affect the film too much. There are just things I think the film could have been better if they fixed these issues. With that being said, that is it for this movie review for Thor Love and Thunder. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. And also, check out the Multiverse of Madness review, check out the Jurassic World Dominion review, and I believe the No Way Home review as well. So, click, click, click. And for now, I'm going to sign off. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.